Hello, this is your host Val with the VK Career Conversation. The reason I decided to do this is that we all come from a place of insecurity when we're trying to figure out or just not knowing where we want to go with our career. What do I want to do? What's my next move with my career? Why am I feeling stuck here with what I'm doing? I remember when I started off in my career, I had no idea what I was doing, what I wanted to do. I want everyone to feel comfortable coming on. We will have professionals talking to you, myself, and others. We'll be consistent. We will feed your soul. We want you to ask questions. But I just think it's a platform that will allow you to really feel comfortable gaining information so that you can move forward in your career. You're listening to VK Career Conversations with Val. Tune in on the first and third Monday of the month.
Awesome. So you guys just saw, again, welcome to VK Career Conversations. Miss Carter, Valerie isn't here today, so I'm filling in her place for her. Of course, we do VK Career Conversations throughout the month, usually on Wednesdays, but if you miss it, we do air it on the LV with Val radio station on the first and third Monday of every month at 8 a.m. That's that little promo that you just heard. We took a little short break for the holidays, for the cold weather, for everything. So we're finally back up. This is our first episode of 2024. How was y'all's holiday break?
Great.
It was great. A lot of, just sick kids, but we made it.
Oh, I'm sorry. This has been a bad year for the flu.
Yeah. Yes, but all good now. We're all healthy and starting off 2024 great. So
I got to go freeze at a Kansas City game, and not this last one that was minus whatever. That would be stupidity.
Wow.
But yeah, we got New Year's Eve. I got to go to a Kansas City Chiefs game with a good friend. We had a great time, and so that was
yay. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, fun. Yeah, I made sure to take time off. We took a whole week off here at the office. So I actually had intended on doing some work, but I told myself I was just a little too relaxed to get any work done. So I really took that week off. I hung out with friends, went to different social gatherings and stuff like that. Hung out with family as well, of course. So I'm happy to be back, though. I notice when I'm not being productive for long periods of time, it puts me in this like rut and not in a really good mental space. So it's kind of weird. The holidays show you that you do need to take a break sometimes, but not too long of a break.
True. That's very true. And nice of you to notice so young, honestly. I noticed too when I take a break that I come back and I've got like 10 times what I needed to get done.
That's what I was going to say.
10 Mondays in one. So
yes. Yeah, I'm feeling that right now because we went on vacation this past weekend and I'm like, I feel overwhelmed with the catching up.
Exactly. This is real.
It's just a whole thing.
Yeah. And one of my favorite sayings is like, I'm behind on getting ahead. So I usually try to get ahead so that I can take breaks, but the holidays set me back. So I'm like not as ahead as I like to be because I'm like terrified of actually being behind, but I'm behind for like my standard of productivity. So
always
love it.
Yay. So, of course, today we're talking, our topic today is hobby or career. And this is something that I really wanted us to talk about because, you hear the sentiment like, do what you love. If you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life. But I do think that kind of can get sticky. For instance, if someone really likes to, let's say they like to make some sort of craft, right? Let's say it's like bracelets, they're making jewelry or whatever. That market is really big. And so if you're trying to make a living off of that, are you enjoying yourself anymore? If you're doing all this like marketing or, business, especially if that's not your forte, you know what I'm saying? Are you really doing what you love or should you just keep it a hobby? So I kind of want to hear you guys introduce that topic and what you think, about hobbies versus careers. Can you do both? Can your hobby be your career, I should say, and that kind of stuff.
That's a great topic. And I've got several stories because I can use my children as an example. I can use myself too. So I would like to immediately say something about what you just said. I am doing what I love. This is absolutely, the truth is that you never work in a day in your life if you do love what you do. it's not so much a hobby, I don't think, but it is just a great passion about what I'm doing. Now, what you said though was that with all the marketing and everything, all the work that you have to put behind your hobby and what you enjoy doing, I do agree you get burned out. So I am at a place like that where I'm burned out. So just time to reinvent my hobby. I don't think it's a fact that I can't do my passion, my love, my hobby, whatever you want to call it. I think you can. I just think you need to watch it and just be willing to reinvent it from time to time. I did tell my children long ago, do what you love, because not really because you'll never work a day in your life, but because you're going to be working all the time. So you might as well do what you love. And I have one child that went with that and is music. I am so glad too. She's in the music business. And so she'll always make the joke too. She's never going to have a real job and probably live with me forever. But she's great at what she does. Very talented young lady. And so I really wanted her to do that. She at one point chose to go, because she's an artist too, to do something that would have a real job behind it, do architecture, but she just couldn't put her heart into it the way she wanted to with music. So she immediately switched gears and what she loves. And she's suffering a little bit, but she is doing what she loves. Another quick example, my son. So none of my kids wanted to go into medicine, and I applaud that. I'm like, do what you want to do. That was my passion in life. Well, his dad is now trying to talk him into going into medicine when really he wants to do computers. That's his hobby. That's what he loves. But his dad is trying to steer him in a different direction. And we are in that conundrum now of, do you do your hobby, or do you do what you love, or do you, get kind of just a real job or whatever. So we're in that conundrum. We can talk more about that later, but that's kind of my synopsis in a way of where this topic stands.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned that about the kids, because I feel like there's nothing better than seeing kids or young people really light up when they're doing something. And like, that's what you want to see. That's what you want to see for your kids or even young people. I'm like, man, go girl, go guy. You're courageous and doing something different. Absolutely. And didn't follow the traditional path, so to speak. I think for me, what I found as I've gotten more established in my business is that I'm not really leaning on my title of productivity coach or organizer as what is bringing me joy and making me feel fulfilled. It's more of like my purpose in doing it. So what I really find is that I'm more attracted to, and like I will persist in every day in doing it when I think about that I'm really creating order for people. That's what I'm doing. And so when I think about that, it does become something that's not work. It feels like a passion. It feels like a purpose. And I think that when you have to balance between career and hobby, if you can find a way to, I don't know, semantics or go to your source and figure out what words come to you in order to see that's going to help you decide if you should pursue it, even if it is a hobby that's giving you fulfillment, or if that's something that for your career, if that makes sense. That's what came to me when you said that topic.
Yeah, I definitely think it's possible to, turn something from a hobby into a career. I'm very big on having like a work-life balance as well, and separating some of that as well. I don't think every side hobby needs to be profitable. Because I remember even when I was like growing up in school, I did like to read books, but the second I was told to read a book, I was like, I don't want to read it. Even if it was a really good book, like the second I like have to do it and I have to write a paper or I have to take a test, all like enjoyment of reading goes out the window. And a friend of mine, she loves to perform. She's an amazing performer, dancer, singer, all of the things. And I was talking to her kind of about my job and stuff like that. And she was like, I admire how career driven you are. She was like, I kind of wish I was more like that, except I really just see my job as a means to support what I enjoy. And now she's at a point where she has a few like people. She does choreography, so people will ask her to choreograph, and she'll do different pieces. It's not enough to like fund her life, but she has her career where she's built herself up for years, and she makes a decent amount of money, and she's really able to have that balance. And her career field also helps her balance out the demands of her hobby, which is also now becoming an entrepreneurial like side hustle as well. So I definitely think there is a way there is a way to do both. But I think it's also important to recognize when maybe you should just keep it a hobby. So what's something that you guys like? Is there something that you guys like to do outside of your work that maybe you don't necessarily identify with in terms of your professionalism, but something that you guys do that brings you joy? You don't care if you make a profit of it. You don't care if people like it. You don't care all the things. Tell me what you guys do.
That's a great question. I don't know if I do anything just for fun anymore. Really, I am working all the time, but I think that's what we are. The three of us are women that are people that are just driven and making something out of everything we do, and great purpose behind it. And this young lady that you speak of is someone working for a means to an end. So I take my daughter, for instance. She might fit into that category in a way where what she's doing now isn't making money yet. She has to do something else in order to bring in the bacon and make sure that she's, able to pay for things that she needs to pay for and do what she needs to do. And I feel bad for her because that part of her life, she spends most of the time doing things like that when she really needs to put her efforts toward her talents and grow that. So that is difficult because you're juggling growing something that's really your life and supposed to be a means to an end at one point, but you're spending so much time working just to bring home the bacon. It's just a difficult way to balance it. Again, I think we three are women who are going to do something with whatever the case may be to try to make it profitable or make it work. I guess my education, speaking and studying to like my podcast, I have to pay to do that. I don't make money from that, and I don't care. That's not what it's for. And I hope it does one day. It'd be wonderful, but right now that's just where I like to develop it and talk to people. I like to study. I like to, it's still work. I get it, but it is what I love to do.
Yeah.
As far as other things outside of work, I've got a lot going on. I do, like to just do things that are fun. It has nothing to do with making a profit out of anything. I couldn't do that, travel, things like that. But yeah, I guess that was the education piece of my life.
Yeah, I know for me, I enjoy cooking and crafting. And I even have like all the Cricut, vinyl, heat press, all the things.
Oh, I love seeing that stuff on TikTok, all the videos of that.
I'll buy it all so I don't watch.
My friends will say, you should make shirts. I'm like, no, that is not, I am not doing that. This is just a creative outlet, like to make a cute shirt for my kids or whatever. And then cooking, I just like looking up recipes and cooking. So that's not anything. I would never sell plates or do anything to make money at all. I will say that recently, even though I am a career-driven woman and I am working full-time and building my business, I have been embracing the idea of what you said, Dr. Pinkston, and just why am I afraid to just go for what I really want to do and not hold on to the job? Like I'm always struggling with that because I feel like I'm supposed to be working because I make a good living, but what I really want to do is run my business full time, and I'm really struggling with trying to figure out how to balance those things. So I know we talked about everything doesn't need to be a business, but when you feel like you are walking in your purpose, how do you let go of it and say, okay,
I know what it is,
girl, just do it, So
yeah, I know what it is. It's security and fear. And there is, I have a side business too with my weight loss clinic and business that I probably could fully support myself at this point with it. But my clinic that I've had for 26 years is such a base. It's safe. It runs. It has people running it, helping me run it. And so there's not a lot of fear that that's going to go under at any minute. And then I'm stuck trying to scramble, because I've been in that place where I've lost everything and had to scramble for a penny to, keep going. And that is a giant fear of mine. So I know what's safe, and I know what is probably safe. I think I just need to get over that fear. I think I just need to say, what,
you and me both.
Whatever you do, Marianne, you're gonna be fine. Just do it. But it's really fear. It's a security, financial security. That is probably my biggest fear, honestly.
Yeah.
Is losing out.
What do you think, Abigail? I mean, you haven't you're doing what you love and your passion, but what do you think about with that?
Yeah. And so that's why this topic is so like confusing for me almost at the same time, because I do feel like I'm doing what I love. I did have financial security for a while. I had insurance, I had benefits, I was making, a lot of money. Not a lot, it was a lot for me at the time. I was only 23 or 22 when I was making almost $50,000 a year. So it felt really, really good to make that much money. And I only made that much money for like a month because I hated it. I hated my life. I hated my job. And I didn't have time to do anything outside of my job. And that's what I wanted. It was retail. So I was working weekends, nights, overnights, all the things. And I felt like I didn't have time outside of that. They were wanting me to work overtime, and I didn't really want to do that. And it wasn't really about the money for me. It was about, I need to do something fulfilling. And I had gone to school for digital media, and I came across this whole entity that I now work for, which is VK Career Conversations, VK Consultant Group, The Love and Victory Show, Val, LV, Val Radio, Tasteful and Toxic, all the things. And we have a nonprofit. It's a whole heap of things, and I do pretty much all of the media stuff for that. So it was perfect for my career field, and I chose that degree because I liked watching YouTube videos. That's literally why I did it. I was like, I love watching YouTube. I love like social media and all the things. So I was able to really do something that I love. And then the money came. It was not about the money at first. It was a big drop for me, and everyone thought I was crazy. And I was really felt that fulfillment that I was looking for, and it gave me time to seek out other things. I was able to do a side hustle as well to make extra money. Again, not that it's about the money, but I was able to kind of build that resume and supplement the income. And along with that, I was working here probably for about 5-6 months. And I was, again, feeling fulfilled, but I was like, now that I feel so good in my career, I needed to work on my personal life and find something that made me fulfilled outside of my accomplishments, outside of my income, outside of what I'm producing for work. And so I joined the Houston Show Choir because I also love to perform. I never wanted to do it as a job, mainly because I didn't feel good enough, but that's a whole other conversation. But it wasn't about being good enough for me at that point. I was like, I love to sing. I love to dance. I love to perform. And now I've been in this show choir for over a year now, and that's brought me a lot of fulfillment outside of my job, so much so that I'm actually throwing myself more into it and helping them with some marketing and some things like that as well, using my skills to help another organization in a way that makes me, they don't pay me. I actually pay to be in it. It's not about that. So yeah, I really think that there is a way to kind of blend your hobby and your career and kind of find that fulfillment in both ways.
Yeah, that sounds like with Dr. Pinkston. We both have podcasts, and I feel the exact same way Dr. Pinkston is. Mine is I love the community. I love just talking with people. And so, which Miss Val was a guest on, but it is nice to have that balance. And so that's the thing I think people should realize, that you don't have to make your hobby something that's going to generate income, especially if it's going to take away the joy from it. Like Abby said earlier, especially I work with a lot of people who, because of what I do is the thing that they hate doing, the operations side. Right. They don't want to set up those things. That's why they avoid it. And so when they're business owners, they realize like, wait, I'm a photographer, but I also have to do this, and that. I'm a doctor, but I got to do this, and that. And so I see that a lot. And so you could either not do it or hire someone, like figure it out so that you can maintain your joy. Because when you're in that space, kind of like Dr. Pink's daughter, you light up, you do it so well. You're in your zone, and that's what people need to see, so.
I the burnout side of it is really a huge, strong factor for me right now, because I am absolutely doing what I love as a physician. I mean, I wanted to do that since I was so young. I don't even remember when I decided I wanted to. And now, though, after 23 years of owning my own business, the insurances, the paperwork, even after COVID, the people have changed. And I think everybody's really frustrated with the system. I definitely don't make the money that people think doctors make. Believe me, we don't make money like that any longer. But we work as hard or harder than we did making that good kind of money. And it is burnout now. I'm ready to walk away from it, which is really frightening. And my patient's like, no, if you ever leave, I'm going to hunt you down and I will never have faith in the system again. You're the only one. I'm like, caught in this place where, I feel like I'm doing what I want to do, but at the same time, it's driven all of the happiness out of it. And it's no longer a happy place to be. And that's a hard piece to, hard part of the apple to bite off for sure.
Yeah.
And trying to reinvent now. How can I make what I love doing something that is still profitable, but, something that I want to stay with and continue.
Yeah.
Day, you actually made a really good point, and it actually made me think of Miss Carter, how you kind of, you said that you take on people, the business side of things, or the operation side of things, so that your clients can do what they love and excel at that. And that's kind of what Miss Carter does with her VK business as well. She does, it's a little complicated. I don't fully understand it all. She does all the complicated stuff. I just do the pictures and then the graphics and that kind of thing. But she does medical consulting. So she handles, like you said, Dr. Pinkston, the insurance, the managerial type stuff of like doctors. Yeah. All the stuff that most doctors hate, so that they can just focus on their patients and providing care, which not only takes the stress off of the doctors so that they can do what they love and can do what they enjoy, but so that they do it better. If you're so worried about handling all these things that, first of all, are out of your realm, you know what I mean? Yeah. Then you're not able to provide a good service to the people that are paying you, right? And what were you going to say, Dr. Pinkston?
I apologize. I do that and I run right over you. I didn't mean to, but that's
go ahead.
Val is doing something she's passionate and loves that I hate. I'm doing something I'm passionate and love she would probably hate. And then the two of us can really make a great big thing out of two different talents and two different loves. And that is a lovely thing to know, is if you are doing something that you love, but there's a piece of it that you hate, see if you can hire somebody in to take that over for you, so that you don't have to do it. Of course, you have to pay them, and that's the problem. Make enough money, to cover that overhead of it. But how lovely that balance could help you bring that balance back to your business.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely think having a team behind you and whatever you're doing is definitely going to help keep the joy. Right. I think a lot of people, and I feel like our society kind of perpetuates this, like, oh, I can do it all on my own. I'm an independent woman. I can do it all. But if you do it all, you're going to do nothing, because that's so incredibly overwhelming. If you're handling the business side of things and actually client facing, and now with social media, now you're doing your social media marketing, and you have to do all the operations stuff. And like, don't even get me started on anything money related. That to me, it's way over my head when it comes to budgeting and taxes and all that. If I were to start my own business, I would for sure need to hire somebody to do all that, because I have no idea what I'm doing. And if I'm spending time stressing on how to do that, rather than just paying a fee to have someone take that load off of me so that I can feel joy in whatever it is that I'm pursuing. So I think that's a really good point that you guys bring up too.
Absolutely. Yep. That's so true. And I feel like, we have to get the idea out of our head that we do have to do everything, or that everything needs to be a certain way. And just, I often tell people, write down everything that you need to do in your profession, in your career, in your business, like brain dump every single thing that you have to do. And then go back and just asterisk the things that when you look at it, you're like, oh, I like doing that, and that's the only thing that you should be doing. Everything else, whether it's now or like your goal, should be to outsource that, because there's somebody who loves to do that somewhere. Somebody loves the money, the math with accounting. Someone loves operations. Someone loves the digital marketing. So, it's just, we can't always think that we have to do everything, especially women. We take on so much, thinking we have to do everything. We don't want to ask for help all the time. Like knowing your strengths and knowing what is like your zone of genius is important for you, no matter if you're in your career or in your profession or business, I mean. So, yeah.
Well said. Absolutely. And you put up a lot of good mornings and comments there a few minutes ago. It's wonderful to know everybody's still out there and
Yes.
watching. Thank you guys. That's wonderful.
Yes. If in case you guys are curious, we're sitting at right now 1340 viewers. A while ago it was almost at 1600. So it looks like they missed us on our little short break. And they're happy to be back. So that's good.
Love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
So has there ever been a time where you felt like you had to choose between maybe what makes you happy and making money? Like, obviously you guys are kind of more established in your career now where like you can kind of blend the two and you can have that balance. But I really want to talk about that like grind period in your life where you don't really enjoy much, but you're just trying to get to a place where you can enjoy things.
Yeah. Wow. That's the grind is it. And yeah, there's been some lean years and years where I had my eye on the ball. I still do. I don't think that ever ends, really. I don't know about you, Day, if that ever truly ends. I think again, as I'm very well established as a clinician here in San Antonio with my business and all, I have more to do and something else I'm looking toward, and that I want that to develop out. So I may be still in that period. I may be still in that grind period where, you know, I'm trying to be patient. It's hard to be patient. What I do, and I think most people's mistake, is that everything has to happen now and all at once. That you know, I'm working so hard to make it like happen. And what I realize is that it doesn't go that way. It develops. It's a process, and I have to be very patient with it. My advice to people is, if you're in that situation where, you know, you've got something big you're trying to do, and then one day it's going to, you know, feed your family and everybody around you, and you know, don't wait until it's perfect and ready to go. Develop it, work slowly at it, let it develop, just get started, just get out there and get started. Because if you just keep pushing and be patient, it will develop out for you and be, you know, be a wonderful thing. If not, and you just wait until it's perfect, I promise you'll never get it done. It'll never happen.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And coming from a self-proclaimed perfectionist, that speaks volumes, because I am always, that's been a struggle, like a thorn in my side, is wanting things to be perfect before I move. So it's like a daily practice. And so going back to Abigail's question, I'm like Dr. Pix, I'm still in the grind, but it feels different though, because I know that I am what I think Denzel Washington said, you have to do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. So that's my mindset right now. I'm like, I'm doing what I have to do. And it gives me, I'm like taking pride in it, because at least I know now what my end goal is. And even though I get overwhelmed, I feel like I'm, you know, I have imposter syndrome, I struggle with perfectionism, I at least have reminders through people, through quotes, or whatever, so that I know, you know what, just take the next.
So hurt.
You there, Day? Okay, I can kind of jump in on that, because I think you guys bring up a really good point about the grind. And I, like you said, I don't really think that ever ends. I think you either have that in you or you don't. There are some people that kind of struggle maybe with complacency. And then there's other people that, here, I'll let her get situated. There's people that struggle with complacency, and then there's people that are always, always, always looking for that next step. And that's something that I really try to maintain, is I think I do have that drive in me. And I always say, I'm always wanting to work towards something, right? I'm fine with the journey. I'm fine with highs and lows. I understand that in life, there's going to be times where like, maybe you're not as driven for whatever reason. And that's your mind and your body telling you, I'm okay with where I'm at right now. And there will be a sign, there will be a big push that'll be like, something needs to change, something needs to adjust. What is your path? What's your next step? And so I do always like to have like kind of something that I'm working towards, again, personally and professionally. Personally, whether that be like, you know, I know you talk about weight loss and stuff like that, whether that be some sort of fitness journey, whether that be, mental health, well-being kind of journey and things like that. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we have different, I think people imagine that, you pick one thing you want to do and you head in that direction, and that's the one thing you're going to do. And that life is not that way either. You have a lot of different paths and a lot of different goals. You have your personal path, that be the health, the mental health side, and your family and things like that. You have, your professional side, that of things that you want to be and want to develop and want to create and do. You have the side of you then that needs to pay for everything, the overhead and all. So you've got the path that allows you to work and maintain and keep a balance for yourself, financially, whatnot. And I think it's all, for me, kind of a balance between faith and fear. So it is, there's a lot of faith that I have in myself and in my future, and I know I can make this happen. And then there's a lot of fear that I may fail, or, it may not happen, or something may get in my way, and something always gets in your way, always. And so just count on it. But that balance between faith and fear is what I think we battle in all of our paths, even our personal path. Can I lose this weight? Can I get this done? Can I, people feel they fail at that all the time and quit and then try again later and all, poor day. And so that's the balance I see for that question.
I love that. There we go. I love that you brought that up, because with the whole faith and fear thing, all throughout college was very fearful, and always kind of on edge. And it's crazy because I always was worried about money, which I always, growing up, middle-ish class, never, money wasn't a huge issue. Thankfully, I didn't have to pay for college. I was able to get my college paid for through military benefits. So I didn't even have to worry about that. But I so badly was just, I never wanted to be in a place where I didn't have money or I couldn't pay for something. So I was always constantly working, so much so that it was distracting me from school. I was working so much. I was working all the time, working on my savings, trying to be as financially responsible as I could. And then I feel like after college, that's when I was like, I don't need to be as fearful. And that's where the faith comes in. I've always said, ever since I was younger, I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be rich for something. I don't know for what yet. Maybe I'll go the reality TV route. I don't know. But I'm going to be rich and I'm going to be famous. I just know within me that I'm going to be successful. And I think when you have that faith, everything else kind of falls into place. You're going to seize those opportunities and they're going to happen at the right time. Even what you guys were talking about, the podcast, I've been told for years that I should start a podcast, but I never did because I was like, well, what would I talk about? And working here for Miss Carter for a year and a half now, I'm finally at a point where I am starting my own show next week. Tune in, LV with Val Radio, January 26th. Me and my mom are going to do a show together. But, like you said, sometimes you can't wait for things to be perfect. Yeah. The opportunity is going to come and you're going to take it when it feels right and when God tells you.
That opportunity, I'm glad you brought that up, because I look at my daughter now and that's where she's stuck. It's like, I'm 22. It's supposed to be happening right now. There are 15-year-olds doing better than I am right now. And I'm like, girl, there's a lesson. There's why you cannot move forward right now is because the universe or God or however you want to look at it says you're not ready. And there's a lesson here that you're supposed to be learning. And once you accomplish that lesson, the next door will open up, but it is not going to happen on your time. It's going to happen on, its time. There's the faith right there that, gosh, I want it right now. It's supposed to be happening. And why you want it to happen? And maybe I'm, this is not supposed to be, maybe I'm failing. It's like, no, it is. You've got to keep pushing, but you've got to wait for whatever it is that is coming to you in order for you to be better at what you need to be. And I think that's where most people, maybe in our group that's watching, but that may be where most people are right now, is in that place where, they're just need it to happen right now, but it's just not there yet. And what do I do until then? There's a lesson. You've got to learn that lesson first, and then you can move on.
Absolutely. And when you know too. I really think if you're questioning, if you're unsure, it's because that's not it. When you know, it'll hit you right in the face.
That's true.
That you'll feel like you have no other choice but to go that route.
Yeah, and going back to Dr. Pinks's comment, I think a lot of people in the younger generations look at what other people are doing, and they kind of use that as a measurement, when really a lot of people aren't being honest about how they got there or what they had to sacrifice to get there.
Absolutely.
Everybody's journey is going to look different. So I know it's hard. Just try not to compare yourself to everyone else, because you don't know what their journey is. If they have even arrived, let's be honest. People put things out there on social media, and they're still hustling, grinding like we are.
That's true. I'll give you an example. Again, going back to my daughter, she was watching this young lady, and her followers were growing just exponentially as you could see it. As she'd refresh the page, there's another 2,000 people and whatnot. I told her, I said, you know what? She purchased that. There's no way she's growing like that in 6 hours to get 17,000 people following her. She purchased that. No, Mom, look, I'm like, girl, quit comparing yourself to others and what is happening. That really threw her for a loop. And I'm like, it's not your time. You're coming by it honestly. And this young lady is not. And she's making you feel bad. She's not trying to do that, dear. It's nothing about you. Your journey is yours. And you need to develop it and do it honestly, so that when you do arrive there, you can say you did it honestly. And so the comparison, especially social media, makes it very, very difficult for our young ones.
Oh yeah, and I think that's only getting worse. I even thought about, so I got in a car accident like in November, and my rental car, I drive a Honda. My rental car though, they gave me an Audi. And I was like, ooh, look at me driving an Audi. I felt so bougie. I was like, I love this. And, some people would take that as an opportunity. Like, I'm going to take all these pictures and make people think this is my new car and, do all. So, yes, social media is most of the time, I don't want to give a percentage, but I'm going to say at least 50% not what it looks like.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? You see someone post a picture with a fancy house. You don't know if that's their house. They could just be looking at houses. It's free to go look at houses. That doesn't mean that they're like this multi-millionaire and all these things. Even when it comes to like, and this is kind of more of a personal take on it, but even when it comes to like people getting married and people, especially in my age, because I'm at the age where like most of my friends are like, or people that I went to high school with are like married and have babies. And I'm like, not there yet at all. And so sometimes I get down on myself, like, should I be on that path? Is that something that I should pursue right now? And so, yeah, social media is it's very hard to be so, because it's so consistent in our daily lives, right? And it's so hard to separate yourself and realize that is not what their true life is. And so I can't expect myself to be on that same level, especially with the influencers and stuff like that.
Social media is very diligent at complicating your life.
Oh, for sure.
Insanely. And for many of those reasons, and that's a huge one right there. You just have to be careful.
Yeah.
You will get that husband and kids and things like that when it's time.
When it's time
to learn right now, and it's not ready, but when it happens, you will know. Just like
And that goes back to faith and fear, like I just have faith that when that time is right for me, I will know. Like I said earlier, it'll hit me in the face, because I've been, in a place where I tried to force relationships too, like where I was in a long-term relationship with somebody I knew I shouldn't be with. And I was like, well, let's get married and blah, 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 and all the things, because that's what I was looking at on social media through friends and stuff like that. And that, of course, plays into your career. You see someone and, they're taking a picture in this like fancy office. Girl, they're at the dentist. They don't work there. They do not work there. Yeah. They don't work at this like sky high building with like this great views. That they're just looking around. They don't work there.
Exactly. I can say the same thing about, because I do have kids and husband and career, but I still look at social media and see where I compare myself to other business owners. Like, wow, look at them. They're doing this and that, and I have to check myself, because I'm like, no. I am where I am supposed to be. This is where God wants me to be right now. And there's lessons to be learned. So, but I do feel like I'm older and can rationalize that. And I feel, just hopeful, prayerful for the younger generation who aren't able to decipher that because they've only grown up with social media and they don't have that maturity to know that it's fake, that it's people are buying followers, that really doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't, because just that doesn't equate to fulfillment or even money, to be honest with you. Followers are not, they don't mean anything financially, so you really shouldn't look at it that way. And then also I heard something recently from, it was a preacher, a minister. He was talking about how you can't really go on the path that you're trying to when you have a moving target. So like when you look at a GPS map, you have to say where you are, you have to pin your location, and then you put down where you want to go. So if you aren't being honest with where you are, then how in the world are you going to be on the right path to go where you need to go? So when you're thinking about lying to yourself, acting like you have an Audi, acting like you have this house, pretending like you're at a place, you're not going to be able to get to where you need to go, because you're confusing the universe. You're like, well, where are you? Are you here? Are you there? So being honest with yourself is the best way to be able to know that you're on the right path and being secure in that. So that's what I would say too. That really touched home for me when I heard that.
Yep, absolutely. Is anybody asking any questions or any good questions out there?
Yeah, we have a question right here from James J. Sargent on Facebook. He said, do you think a hobby is not beneficial, but a career is?
It's an interesting question and an interesting way of thinking about it. And I think in some of the things that we've touched on, that a hobby is always beneficial if you can make a career out of it. So if you, again, it's about that balance of knowing whether you want it and can stick with it, and it can be profitable at one point. You can allow the process to happen and then not get burned out on it, I think, altogether. Yeah. And you can actually wind up doing both.
Yeah. And if not, like Abby, perfect example. She took up hobby up in the show choir because that's what she loved to do. And she's not trying to make a career out of it because she has a career that she loves and supports her lifestyle. She chose to do something else. So you don't have to create your hobby into a career. You can keep them separate, whatever fulfills you, and don't ever feel the pressure to do one or the other.
Exactly.
Yeah, it can be. And the question, I'll put it up again. Do you think a hobby is not beneficial, but a career is? It depends on what you think beneficial means. Hobbies aren't always going to be profitable. They're not always going to be, help in your career, but it's beneficial to your mental health, to your physical health, which is in turn could be more beneficial if you feel like you have this release of energy or this release of creativity in one way. And maybe, like, let's say maybe if you're like an accountant or something, that's not super creative, but you're a really creative person. So you're able to get out your creativity, and now you're able to perform better at your accounting job or whatever. And something that is really popular that I see online, because I'm chronically online. I'm a Gen Z, so I'm very much on TikTok all the time. Something that's really big right now is like crocheting, doing crochet and stuff like that. It's actually something I really want to learn. But a lot of people will say, like, they'll see someone make all these like crochet crafts and they'll be like, oh, well, can I buy that? And the person's like, sure, that'll be $1,000. Right. And they're like, why is it so much? She's like, because it took me hours to make it. Like literally days and days and days and days and months. If I charged you what I would charge per hour plus the supplies, the amount of yarn that this took, it would not be cost effective for anybody. So that's one of those things that's like, you just do that for you, because no one's buying $1,000 blanket.
I'm so thankful you said that about TikTok and crocheting, because I wondered where the heck that Christmas gift idea came from. My daughter, she's like, I want to learn how to crochet. I'm like, what? Where did that come from? Grandma and my sister did, and so now you say that, I'm like, oh, okay. There we go.
Yes. Crochet is very in right now. It's all the hype. And you can only do it by hand.
It's from my sister. My sister got into it at one point a long time ago, and she made so many blankets, and I've got so many of them. Never use one, but it's that's great.
Yes, it's one of those things that isn't great as a career because of the amount that it costs.
It takes too much time to produce. Right.
Exactly. But it's great as a hobby. You get to make Christmas gifts and do something that you love. That's kind of, a release of creativity. Yeah. We got a comment. I'm sorry. Did you want to say something on that day before I move on?
No. I was just saying, I agree with that. Just, totally.
Yeah. Abraham James on YouTube said, I just love how you guys are so transparent about your opinion or thoughts. Thank you, Abraham.
We got it. We're gonna help somebody, right?
Exactly. Amy says, so true. I would never buy $1,000 cover.
There you go. Unless it was, mink or something, which isn't appropriate anymore. But yeah.
Yeah. There would be a really, you have to be really, really rich and successful to buy that and be like, oh, I'll just buy $1,000 blanket. Why not? So we do have another question from Peter Jasper on YouTube. Peter Jasper says, have you guys ever thought about who even first thought of the comparison of a hobby and career?
Wow. No, I think that has probably been a time honored tradition for a long time. I think we've always struggled with that. I mean, even back, as far back as I can think about my grandparents, my grandfather always wanted to be a doctor, but didn't have the money or ability to do that to support his family. So he was a farmer, and he was able to make a great living doing that. But that was always something that was on the side that he wanted to do. So he did some studying and things like that as his hobby. And that was way, way, way back. So yeah, I think that is something that's been forever.
I feel like it could have come from the way the Western society views, making money and the culture that we have here on maybe a hobby. What people really wanted to do wasn't an accepted way to earn a living, to, have, especially men, they had to go provide, back in the day. So, and women had to do certain things in the home. And so having any time for something that you enjoy just didn't seem like it fit into your life. Sure. And so I think that there's been like a revolution of, minds. People think now about that doesn't have to be the way we have to live, especially the younger generation. They're like, life first business, and, work hard, play hard, and, balancing self-care. I think that it's shifting because now we saw our parents work and never have hobbies. Like, you just worked and retired, and you're like, I don't want that life. Right. They created a life to where we can have the freedom to have a little bit of enjoyment. Sometimes people have a little more than they should, but whatever. But I think that it may have come from this Western society and, how our culture is versus other cultures. So.
Yeah. And I think about too, when as humans, way back when like the life expectancy was like 35 years old, and all anybody did was like the very main essential jobs, which is, like you said, farming. Right. We need to eat, we need to live. Someone who builds houses, or people built their own houses. So there wasn't really a sense of, at least, from my perspective, a sense of enjoying life, more surviving. And that's actually something I often will ask people, like when I greet them, I'm like, are you surviving or are you thriving today? Because there are sometimes some of us, and even still today, that are in a state of survival. They don't have the time or the energy to enjoy anything. They're just trying to get through. And I think we all go through phases of that.
And we're always surviving. Always. There are times where it's more of a struggle than others, but survival is always key. I think for your mental health, you have to slow down and try not to be in that mode all the time. It's very important for your hormone balance. It's very important for your weight and your health, and on the long term, the more stress you have, the worse your health is. And so people really need to understand that even in times of pure survival, you have to slow down and take breaks and do something that you enjoy. You have to make time for that. It's not something that's just, when I have time, I'm going to do this. It's like, no, it's like exercise, like eating. You just have to make time for that. You really do, or else it hurts you long term.
I think a lot of people feel like free time is a luxury, which it can be. It really can be, depending on your lifestyle and what your circumstances are. I do think free time can be a luxury. And with social media and TV and all this like digital entertainment, it's easy to kind of get stuck in that being your free time, spending all your free time watching a show. Don't get me wrong. I love reality TV and scrolling on TikTok and stuff like that. But that is not going to fulfill you as a person. That's a good way to pass time if you're like waiting in line somewhere. That's a good way to pass time if you have an hour to kill before bed or whatever. But as far as like, if you do have the luxury of having a significant amount of free time, I think that's where hobbies really become important, because you feel a sense of that productivity. Because as humans, we want to be productive. We want to do something. We want to feel like we're like contributing to something. And so I think if you do have the luxury of having, ample free time, or even just enough, like Dr. Pinkston, like we talked about earlier, with like even working out, like even if you just go for a walk, like that can be a hobby, walking and listening to music, and things like that.
Very true.
True.
Yes. Let me see. We have a couple comments here too that I want to read. Elizabeth McPherson said on Facebook, if we see history, all the things to choose, one thing actually started with the opinion of society.
In some way, it seems like it, right?
Yeah.
It trends, fads, trends.
Yeah.
Those are things that develop us and push us forward. You can see it in a good light. You can see it in a bad light. Like, crocheting, that is something that is old and has been done before, but now is a new trend, and it's pushing people to be creative for themselves again, use their hands, use their mind, and, a new hobby or whatnot. So something old became new, but that's a trend, and it's pushing us to do, change ourselves and do something different as a society. That's interesting. Yeah. Nice comment.
We were even talking about, scrolling just now, but nowadays that can totally turn into a career. If you're really up to date, and I think about that's kind of where I got to where I am now. I was chronically online. I was spending all my free time online, watching videos, watching TikToks on Twitter, on social media. And I was able to become I like to say, media literate. I understand what the trends are, what people like, how to market things. And now I've been able to turn that into a career. And that's influencing as a whole career field now too. And what does that start with? It starts with consuming the media so that you can then produce it. But people do get stuck in just the consumption of it. That's definitely a problem.
I go back to my son, who loves computers and spent his entire childhood gaming. And most parents, and I'm sure it happens to many, and so most parents would say, I had to force him to get off and force him to, he's always on, and they complain about that chronically. I actually gave him plenty of free time to do. His grades were always good. His room was always clean. He did what he was supposed to do. He was a good kid. And it actually turned out, like you said, to be something where he learned an intense amount of skill and information, and now can multitask like you can't believe. But he is now, that's where he wants to turn that, or did want to, until his dad interfered, wanted to turn that into a career. And that so that was his hobby that wanted to turn to a career. And so I just gave him his space, and as long as he was doing the right thing, going to bed on time, whatever, I just let him do his thing, and he did. And
I love that.
And so, that's an example, I guess, there of the same.
I love both of those stories. That's, you were able to, your parents let you explore it and look at turn into a career, or will be turned into a career. So that's really good advice for anybody who feels bad that they like doing something that their parents probably are like, you waste time here and there, but you never know what it'll turn into. So I love it.
All right. So we'll have one more quick question from Lucas, and then we'll go into our final thoughts and wrap everything up. Lucas on YouTube says, what if we can earn with our hobby?
Definitely earn it. Do it if that's what you like and enjoy. And it may take a while before you can earn it. You just be patient, let it build, and do what you have to do in the meantime to bring in the funds. But if you are able to make money from your hobby and that's what you want to do, then absolutely go for it.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal. Yeah. So
Love
what did you guys think about today's topic and this conversation that we had today? What are your final thoughts? Anything you want to leave our audience with?
Well, I'll say that if you are wanting to figure out if your hobby is something that you should pursue with your career, go for it, test it out, see if there's people who are interested, if there's a need for it, but also check your spirit in doing it as well. Like, is this something that brings you joy? Because that's really going to be the catalyst for you being able to make money, because people will see that you are unique at doing this, and it's something that you do better than anyone else. And that's going to help you to see if it's a viable thing for you to turn it into a career. But if not, it is totally fine to keep it as a hobby and bring joy that way, and then find something else that's going to help sustain your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I like that. And then where can they find you, Day?
Yes, so I can be found at simplicitybyday.com, and you can go to my website and find out more about how I help people with creating order in their lives. And I also, speaking of social media, am on Instagram, Facebook, all of the things at Simplicity by Day.
Awesome. And then you, Dr. Pinkston?
I love what Day said about, choosing your path and sticking with it. And you can do either way. You can have a career and a side hobby that allows you a chance to rest and restore, or you can make, your passion and your hobby your entire career. I think my advice for people really is, no matter what you choose, just take care of yourself and realize it's a process, and balance that faith of fear and just give it time, let it develop. Try not to hurry things up, because it is going to develop over time. You just got to get started. Just get started and don't wait for things to be perfect. That would be one thing that I would, tell somebody and have told people over and over. So just do what you love and enjoy it, whether you're making money from it or not. Just do what you love and take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where can they find you, Dr. Pinkston?
Well, the main source is drpbetterlife.com, and that is where you can find my podcast through iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. You can find it anywhere. It's all over under the Better Life with Dr. Pinkston. You can also go to drpbetterlife.com and find information about my practice and things like that too, if you're in the local area. And then I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, and it's Dr. Marianne Pinkston. But you can also get those links into all my other social media from my website as well. So please go to drpbetterlife.com, check it out. I would love some more subscribers and watchers.
Yes, yes. I really think this was an important conversation to have, especially in the new year. I think people are trying to start something new, whether it be personally or professionally. And I do think it's important to note that it's not cookie cutter. It's not one thing that might be, one person might be doing their hobby and they love it and they're making millions of dollars on it, and that's great for them. But some people have to find that separation, because maybe what they're good at and what funds their life isn't what brings them, fulfillment and joy. And there's no right or wrong, and there's in between. It's what's it called? A spectrum. So I really think, in the new year, it's just really important for people to do what's best for you. Don't compare yourself to others, and to do what feels right. I think our gut is a really, really strong source of direction. And as long as you have a goal and you're always working towards that goal, and you're taking those proper steps, I think that is how you should do things. You can find me. Don't worry about my personal pages, but y'all can find me at vkcareerconversation.net, or vkconsultantgroup.com, lverinc.com. That is our nonprofit. lvwithval.com. That's our radio station, our radio show. We have a lot going on, but LV with Val is the main thing I do if y'all want to check out our radio station and our radio show. But yes, thank you guys so much.
I get to be on it.
Yes, Dr. Pinks is going to be on in February. I'm so excited. Yay! Coming all the way from San Antonio. I hope you guys are staying warm.
Yeah. Not. Yeah. My sweater. Yeah, it's not.
We're all going to get cozy. Thank you guys so much. You have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.